Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2006 Pontiac G6 GT convertible. Up front is a 3.5 liter V6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Pontiac G6 for many reasons. First of all, I grew up driving a G6. It was one of the vehicles that I put the most miles on until my own personal Mazda 3 years later. So I used to drive one of these. I loved it. I'm always excited to get back behind the wheel. I've never reviewed a convertible G6, and this video is celebrating 2,000 reviews here on the channel. For my 1,000th review, I reviewed a silver Pontiac G6. My first review was a silver Pontiac G6, and so I've made it a habit that every 1,000 reviews, I review a silver Pontiac G6. So we're gonna be doing a little bit of resetting, talking about that, talking about convertibles as a whole, as well as the beautiful, lovely Pontiac G6. So let's pop some bottles in the ice like a blizzard in today's G6 review. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 3.5 liter V6. Well, throughout the vehicle's run, the G6 was offered with several different engines. The most popular common base model engine was the 2.4 liter Ecotec, and although it wasn't super powerful or great, it really was pretty reliable for my time. Now, they did have this 3.5 liter single overhead cam V6. They later gave it dual overhead cams, and they had the 3.9 liter and at the very end a 3.6 liter V6. So these actually had more V6 offerings than 4-cylinder offerings, which is nice to see. Now, this engine makes 201 horsepower. It's nothing special, but it does the job. Like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. This was a pretty standard transmission for the G6. Nothing really noteworthy here. It does the job. It's fine enough. It's whatever. Last but not least, of course, the G6 is front-wheel drive. They unfortunately never offered an all-wheel drive version like Pontiac used to with their Pontiac 6000. How does it feel to drive the Pontiac G6? Well, something I've always admired is that the V6s are always pretty torquey and relatively fun to drive. Even though the G6 was a very basic slap-together economy car, it was still fun to drive. Now, what you probably heard was an exhaust leak that's a high-pitched whistle. Every Pontiac G6 has an exhaust leak. Every single one of them. There's a flex pipe that comes off the engine that was basically a universal piece. And so it would be fitted to the Equinox and the Malibu and the Impala. They all crack, they all break. We replaced 4 of them in my personal Pontiac G6. So it's almost like refreshing hearing the exhaust leak in a Pontiac G6. It reminds me of my childhood, kind of like how smelling Winston cigarettes reminds me of Grandma's house. Maybe it's not a positive attribute to the memory, but it's an attribute nevertheless. I kind of like that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I do have 4 gauges. However, this is actually from a 2009 Pontiac G6, so it's updated, looks a little bit different than what these standard gauges would be, just so you're aware. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our cruise control and info, and off to the right, we have voice commands, volume, and skip track. And off to the left, we have a climate vent and our gauge dimmer switch. And moving on the door, we have lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do get 2 climate vents, a hazard switch, and the radio. Again, nothing really groundbreaking here. I've always loved the red lights or the red displays that Pontiac was using in this time. Again, a lot of nostalgia for me, but I do think it's a pretty good look. And down below for the climate controls, these again have been swapped out like the gauge cluster for the more modern, I say modern, still 16 years old, but the 2009 G6's climate controls. The knobs are a little bit nicer, a little bit easier to use, and they look a little bit better. Then we do get a 12-volt outlet and the traction control off button, something that the 4-cylinder that I owned did not have. It did not have traction control, so they just had 2 12-volt outlets. This actually has a traction control button. We do have the shifter. You can plus minus if you would like, if you want to do something like that, if you're hip and cool. Then we have the handbrake and cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Pontiac G6 convertible. And if you remove the liners of the cup holder, which when I owned mine, these liners were lost somewhere. If you remove the liners, it will accompany the big friggin' bottle, so it does get a pass for the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have a center console and the seats. The seats are out of a GXP Pontiac G6, so again, not original to this particular car, but they are comfortable, heated. They are power forward and back, but not power reclining. Kind of interesting there. However, speaking of seats, even though this is a coupe convertible, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, let's see how to get into the back here of the G6. So the seat belt actually can come out of this little holder, and it'll kind of dangle down here. Fee, fi, fo, fum. All right, we're in the back of the convertible G6. With the seats in their normal position, I actually have plenty of space back here. I've always praised the G6 for having good rear seat space, but I've only done the coupe and I owned a sedan. It's really nice to see that that carries on. We have all of the folding top mechanisms behind us that we'll talk about in a second, and I'm still able to fit back here. And I can sit back here really, really easily. Like, I would happily ride through downtown or whatever, like back here. It's not a problem at all. And that's really hard to find with convertibles. If convertibles have back seats, 9 out of 10 times, they're awful, awful, awful seats. But these, I actually like these. Like, these are good seats. And so I'm very happy to see that in the back of the G6. But let's hop into the trunk because you might be shocked to see what we find back there. Right around the back of the convertible G6, which so far we've evaded the rain, but I don't know how much longer I have. But we do have a rear trunk button to pop the trunk and get ready for nothing. You get basically no storage space when the top is down. I guess you could maybe squeeze some stuff in here, but this is the rear glass window, so don't put anything sharp in there for sure. You also get these really heavy duty sort of spikes that come down into here. Love to see that. But now let's start it up. Let's close the roof. I'll show you how that works. So turn the car on, then we have the button up here. This forward position is for the roof. And as you can see, it's gonna start doing its thing. It's not the fastest thing in the world. It's not the fastest roof in the world. However, it's a power folding hardtop, which is very, very neat. Here it comes. Get ready. And it's a little aggressive clunking down, but it is, 20 years old, so it still works. So that is the nice part. Everything tight, wait for the go, top movement complete. So now we can get back out, hit the button here for the rear trunk. And now, where the top previously was, is now some storage space. Now we do have parameters on what we can store in here and what we cannot. It does offer obviously a lot more space, but then you can pull this back. You do still get the spare tire and stuff. These are known for collecting water in the spare tire well, so something you might want to look for. But you have another label there. Read it while pulling it out. There you go. So that is the trunk space when you have the top up. When the top is down, you basically get nothing. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and right off the bat, this does have the GXP front bumper. The owner has added that. I don't really care for it all that much, but I do like the lines of the G6. Again, for an economy car, for a basic mode of transportation, I think the G6 does look pretty good. And honestly, I don't have any complaints about it, even in its convertible format, which I don't normally love convertible versions of coupes. I think it often looks like a hack job. I think this actually looks pretty presentable and works pretty well. So that is very, very nice. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a convertible Pontiac G6? Well, I of course like it. There's a lot of nostalgia here for me. Just seeing those two climate vents, the hazard switch, The radio looking back at me, these gauges, the Pontiac badge in the center of the steering wheel, hearing that exhaust leak, it feels like I'm home. And it feels like I've been gone for a very long time, and I'm happy to be back. But I also like the fact that this is a convertible. Convertibles always sort of put it into a lower gear in terms of the vehicle's feel. When you chop the roof off, and this being a folding hardtop is super, super cool. When you chop the roof off, it makes the car more relaxed. This is no longer chasing lap times or trying to be something that it's not. Now this has become a comfortable cruiser. That's exactly what the G6 was always good at. Up until Pontiac went to the end, these were always semi-comfortable cars. Is this a Cadillac or Buick or even an Oldsmobile equivalent? No, of course not. But Pontiacs were still comfortable. They still had that feeling to them. And that's true here in the convertible G6 as well. It's a comfortable cruiser. I can imagine driving down the boulevard at sunset with the top down, enjoying your time. This has now taken a basic economy car that was the bane of my existence for a decade and now making it fun. Now changing that story to be a little bit more positive, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more recreational. And I love that. I've always liked the G6. It will always, always have a special place in my heart because of all the memories I have in my own. But this is a better version. And man, an economy car with a V6? That doesn't happen anymore. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Dylan for letting me borrow his Pontiac G6 for today's video. He's been absolutely wonderful to work with. I've reviewed several of his vehicles in the past. This is his latest acquisition, and I always appreciate him. But I also have to say a huge thank you to you guys. This video is celebrating my 2,000th review here on YouTube. I get to wake up every day and do this as my job. It still blows my mind that I'm able to do that, and it's all because of you guys. So huge thank you to everyone that has watched them, everyone that has provided me with cars, everyone that has shown me grace and courage over the last 10 years I've been doing this. I am very, very much looking forward to another 2,000 more reviews. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.